Hey guys, and welcome back to another Spore creation video. And for today's creation, we're going to be making the Hand of Fate from the Eternal Cylinder. Since I really enjoyed playing with the Celestial Travailer, it's really fun working with these much larger scale builds that aren't really appropriate in a single creature editor environment, but rather a bit of an environmental galactic adventure thing. I really like these. And the Hand of Fate, for those who may have missed it, was a mini-boss, or a boss encounter, during the Chapter 3 desert area. Really cool. You only really see it one time though, which is a bit of a shame, but it's a really cool, unique looking creature. And one neat feature about this creature is that, well, two neat features actually. One is it's a giant hand. It's a big, freaky looking hand, but mostly number two, it's kind of like a Sarlacc pit in the sense that it emerges from a giant pit in the ground. And this, just like the Celestial Travailer, is something I just want to kind of play around with for today and just kind of experiment and see how I can rebuild it. Since, like I mentioned earlier, I'm still quite keen on recreating just parts of the Eternal Cylinder within Galactic Adventures, making like little mini adventures, mini stories, templates, what have you. Something I want to look into, and it'd be really fun if I can try and get like these special creatures in there as well. The bigger, more iconic looking ones. Just gonna do like a nice little quick job, just like with the Travailer. We're not going to be, try-harding it too much. I kind of want to like get the idea out there first, play the execution, and then do it properly in a future adventure. I think this is good terrain here. That's all very simple, deserty kind of terrain. Like I mentioned, we can always make it look pretty in the future. Now, what I want then is that big pit idea, like I mentioned earlier. I want to be fairly deep. Can I lower the water even more? Yes, I can. So, that's going to be the start of it. I know it's a very boring looking beginning, but that's kind of all we really need to begin to start things off with. And then of course, the next thing to do then is to get a blue gate. So, unlike the Celestial Travailer, which I was able to make animate, this, because it's holding a large disc platform, I can do that in the creature editor. I can make a large, animating creature holding a platform, but I think that in the long run, it just won't work. Like, whereas the Travailer kind of benefited from wiggling around, looking animated, this will be very awkward, whereas if I make it static and make it a frozen statue, you can actually walk on the platform and walk underneath it, exactly like you would in the Eternal Cylinder. And I'd rather replicate that, so basically it's in its dormant state, as opposed to it's in its, boss encounter state. So, like I mentioned, get the good old blue gate, disguise that, and we're going to go ahead and make the beginnings of our new creature. Now then, the Hand of Fate is really strange looking. And to really emphasise that, it's got 12 total fingers. And it's got like a bit of a... It's kind of like clawing and gripping around the rim, which is just kind of tricky to describe. And unfortunately, there's not really any good footage I can show of it. So I'm just going to pretty much have to wing it. The main thing I want to do is get the actual ring part of it sorted. That, I think I'll just use like a bit of a dark brown. Because in the game, it's like I've got a very very like a rusted bronze kind of texture. But I would rather just use a singular texture here, because it'll be easier to, easy to mimic. And what I do then is make it really nice and large like that, make it quite thin. And that can be our basis. Let's go ahead then and just make that a bit more straight. And can I bring it up at all? Oh, I can actually. Sweet. So what I want is the spine of the creature, this little digit right here. I would like the two palms to kind of grow out from that, so that way this is all nice and hidden. So this needs to be raised quite far up. Now then, there's multiple ways you can go about doing this with the palms, with the fingers. So the easiest way to make the fingers, because again it's be a frozen statue, so animation is not a concern, I could just use limbs, but it might be a bit... I'm thinking... It's not going to animate, so I actually could get away with like cheesing it a little bit. Let's actually do that then. So, let's see what I can get away with. We're going to go ahead and use a Cali Pigeon, because I always like the big muscular texture it's got. And as it has 6 digits, I got to do 3 on either side, so I think doing it like this for the very first fingers will help. This is going to look very, very strange for a very long time. Just be prepared for this. Let's see then. Ah, I already don't like this. It already looked kind of weird. Right, I think something like that would work. Actually, as I'm looking at it from another angle, it's kind of more like this. It's a very wide creature. Yeah, kind of like that. You You can see why I need to put the ring there, like, as a reference point. Okay, so that's one finger. Now we can just duplicate that twice on either side, so we've got like another one over here. It's all very evenly spaced, thankfully, so it does make my life a little bit easier. Doesn't that just look absolutely bizarre? And I'm not sure why the two limbs like that are behaving like different angles, how this one's kind of concaved inwards, that one's curved outwards. It doesn't really matter though, because you're not really going to see that in the final creation, you're not really going to see beneath it. Well, actually you can. I lie, you can, because that is actually what you can do in the game itself after you beat the boss encounter. You can kind of crawl around underneath it. So, but again, it doesn't really matter that much, so because it's such a large creation, you're probably not really going to notice that kind of curvature. It's me nitpicking. I'm sorry, bear with me. It's an old habit. Right, so we got the first 6 fingers down, and then after that we're going to have another set. Now this set's going to be a lot smaller. In fact, according to what I can tell, these ones are more like thumbs, where they're actually missing an entire digit. And yes, it does actually look that weird. So we're going to do the same process again. I'm going to go ahead and just copy everything and make it look all nice and symmetrical. These ones are just about gripping it on the tip like that. Because it's a thumb, I do have to change the dimensions just a little bit, make probably the base like a lot chunkier like that. Right, and there we have it. It's like a really stupid looking reverse head crab. Or something to that effect. I think that's a pretty decent start so far then. We can make it look more fleshy just by adding the right textures later on, but for the time being we're still building it up, and I think that's quite okay so far. Where is the center, the mirrored line symmetry? There it is. Okay, so we've got left and right, and what I want to do next is, by using various textureless parts from Dark Injection and Replicant, I'm going to try and kind of like make it look like palms, though I'm not really sure how. And there is also, how do I describe this? It's got like a big hole in the middle of it, which obviously I don't have here, but I can replicate something like a hole by using probably the jelly button part from Replicant. Probably not. Oh, actually, what I could do, if I just do it like this, put it on the opposite side down here, very exaggerated, but if I do that, flip it upside down and then do that, that kind of works, and I hate it, but that is kind of the way it is in game, or at least I want it to have like a bit of a rim around it. Maybe I should actually shrink all these down to be like minimum size, because I'm about to, oh yeah, actually that looks a lot better. Ooh, I hate it, but that looks a lot better. I'm about to increase the width of all the other little bases of the fingertips anyway. So that works, and because it is textureless and rigid, it will extra not animate, even more so than before. Or less so in this case. And mainly, it will have the exact same colour palette and texture as everything else. So it will flow and, you know, merge really nicely. Right, now let's get the textures pieces. I think the good old ethereal razor, my favourite piece, would be good for this. So if I just grab this one here, not that one, this one, and just kind of pad everything out and just make it all look like they're all connected, like kind of webbed in a way. And just try and make it look like a palm in some weird, horrific sense. It looks like a really gross flower. A nice big old fleshy finger flower. I absolutely hate that. Right, so there's the funky looking base of our creature so far. It's not quite perfect. Again, general lack of helpful resources, but I felt like it's definitely close enough, especially the general pit in the middle. I didn't really get to have, I didn't get to show like much of a split between the two palms, so it kind of looks like just one large creature. But I think, to be fair, I think it's like kind of okay. At least what I'm trying to go for. The next thing to do then is, so I already know in terms of textures what I'm going to do. I'm going to have like a bit of a mid-tone for the base, a lighter colour for the coat, yeah, for the coat, and a dark colour for the detail. So with that in mind, for the nails, I want the nails to be like a nice lighter shade, which is what I'll be using for the coat. So I'm going to be using Pandora's Soul Box, using the coat sphere. That will inherit the colour of the coat. Let me just quickly just yoink that on then and just slap it onto every tip or every fingernail. Create every fingernail, I should say. Kinda like that. Now, just like these excuse me. Now, just like with the Celestial Travala, I probably will be, you know, going back and refining it to make it look a bit better in the future for the actual adventure itself. But for now, it's nice just, you know, kind of mash it out and just get the process down, you know. Make sure that things actually work, and maybe in the future one I can then, you know, do a better job of the palm. think that is pretty much good to go. Just adjust the nails a little bit, and yeah, let's just see for the fun of it how that walks. Oh, I don't like it. Don't like it at all, but I think that's quite convincing though. And then of course want to get that lovely fleshy texture. What's the best way I can get skin tones? Is there like anyone who I can just casually take? No, it turns out there aren't really anything that useful for what I'm after, so I'm going to go ahead and have to make it myself. Although that right there is actually a pretty good base. The fingertips are actually quite dark. Do I want to keep that? I kind of do actually. I like that variation. In fact, I could just leave it like that, to be honest, but I'd rather not. I'd rather it be a little bit lighter. Because the fingertips are a little bit too dark for what I'm after. Oh no, yeah, they're only going to remain that dark. Damn. I really like that, but it's too much of a contrast. So let's go ahead and get our same colour back again then. We'll try a different material. That is gross looking, and I think it's actually perfect. I don't like that at all. Like I mentioned earlier, I wanted the upper half to be a lighter gradient, so we'll go ahead and copy paste that in. We'll get a lot lighter, and I'll also make the fingertips or the nails lighter as well. And then the entire under half will be that darker shade that we just saw earlier. So something like that. Maybe make it a little bit redder as well, because I really like that red texture. And we should get something that is somewhat convincing. Perfect. I do like how that looks. That is nasty and I like it a lot. Now, it is missing one important thing, which I'm debating if I want it to be a creature, or like an animating creature, or a part of this, and that is the mouth. It's got this... The Hand of Fate has this really creepy mouth tentacle proboscis thing, and I think maybe I can get away with that animating. I'll try and get away with that animating. Maybe the entire hand could be rigid, like I mentioned earlier, but the mouth could be the thing that moves. And the idea is that this is going to be like a very large static object. How big is that compared to my Trebhum? That's actually about the right size. Ooh. Yeah, I'd say it's about the right size. If anything, the area it's in is far too large. So I need to find a way to make that smaller. So let's see then. So we've got our big old statue. And how can I make this like much more narrow, much more steeper? Let's just chuck it right beneath it. We'll make it a little smaller then. Kind of like that. Yes, that is exactly what I'm after. We will bring it outwards slightly. Make it a little bit smaller, bring it upwards so that there's actually like a bit of a noticeable gap between, you know, the fingers and the terrain. Oh, look at that, it's nasty. But like I said earlier, it's just like a star-like bit. And if I remember correctly, underneath it also has that poisonous cloud that you see a lot in the Eternal Cylinder. So for that, I can actually stack this inside. Oh, if it'll go on camera going a bit funny there. So I can do that underneath it. And the big kicker, the thing that I really want to do with this, which I will not do just yet actually, I'll add that a little bit later, my big idea. Let's make the mouth. Actually, it's basically that. This foot is probably like the best I can get for it, so let's try a rigid textured. That way it actually has like a bit of a texture to it. Let's try that again then. So we'll grab this one here, or maybe even that one is probably a bit more like it. So we'll do that. And how can I adjust it? I can make it curve in a little bit, which is ideal. I can make it a lot oh, that's gross. I can make it a lot wider. And I think that's it really. And that is pretty much the mouth, just like that. That's all I need is for the mouth. And it can just wiggle like that. Oh, that's horrible. It's such a weird looking plant thing. Let's give it the same coloration. See how that looks. Yeah, that's about right. That'll about do it. Just like a little nice extra touch, I will actually go ahead and give it a bit of like a red tint in the mouth. Just so you can see that there is actually like a bit of an interior to it. Now, if I set that to stationary, set it to maybe neutral or even mindless, can I place it on the statue? I can actually. Yes, I can. Right, so what I can do then is do that. Oh no, that's horrible. That looks so weird. But again, that is how it looks in the game. I don't like that. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, that's actually about spot on. It's actually about spot on. There's a bit of an inconsistency in texture where the statue is like really gross and just low poly looking, and the mouth is like really high poly. A Spore, what can you do about Spore, you know? If anything, I'd say it's a little bit too tall. Let's just reduce it a little bit. And then the final touch I wanted to do was to have a large invisible jump pad. Now, because I'm using a jump pad, it's probably going to make the creature spaz out. The trick I had in mind was to do this. Hold on. Have that be perfectly in sync with the ring, like so. Because then it will turn the ring into an actual platform that you can walk on. If I quickly just get like a bit of a demonstration, just get a rock, just so like I can stand on the rock and climb up on it, like say this. Let's just quickly do that. We'll just arch it like so. Put the Trebhum right there. And the idea, kind of forgot a step here. And the idea was with the jump pads, I could then make it invisible. And now, if I would try and walk onto it, if it will let me, come on, you little stubby-legged thing, come on. Well, I hate creatures that don't have jump. It's so bad. Like, I'm sorry, Saga, I love your Trebhum so much, but the lack of jump is killing me. None of them have jump, oh no. Alright, here we go. The Desert Trebhum by Flame Fire Flower, this one can jump. That's quite fitting actually as a Desert Trebhum in the Desert boss encounter. And there you go. So just like I mentioned, now you can actually walk on the surface. But as you can tell, the jump pad is causing the mouth to spaz out a little bit. I could probably change that with a teleporter, but then again, though, the mouth wouldn't work. So I guess the lesson here to learn is that we have to have a rigid, static mouth. Which is okay, to be fair, it's definitely okay. Again, it's why we're doing this here, like as a nice little test run, as opposed to like the actual creation itself. But it would have been perfect if that actually worked. That really would have been perfect. Just move that out of the way then. We'll put the mouth back. At least I guess this way it means that we can actually affect the height. So if I did this, bear with me a second, camera angles are awkward. So if I just had that kind of go flush with the surface of the disc, have that go down like that, and as an extra touch, so there is like a bit of a translucent texture on the platform. I can't replicate that, but what I can do is use like a single, maybe not that one, is that like a puddle? Yes, a pond. You know the next best thing, and have a pond texture like so. I'll do that. And this will really make it look like that we are walking on an actual platform disc lens surface, just like that. And we're going to test drive. Give it all a go. Perfect. See, look at that. Oh, damn it. Look at that. And there we have our Hand of Fate. I like that. And just like in the actual game, you can go underneath it. Of course, I can decorate it or make it look proper. But it's like an entire thing beneath. You can see its gross little finger feet as well. How it's got the poisonous clouds as well. That could probably end up killing you as well. And yeah, I like it. I like how it came out. I just wish the textures weren't so muddy. Let me try one quick little tiny thing. There is a cheat I can use. High res texture level high. So if I just quickly do that, no, it only really affects buildings and vehicles. It does not affect creature textures. So creature textures are unfortunately just scuffed. But we will just take a quick little moment here and enable shaders. There you go. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's creepy. Perfect. And then of course, what I could then do is have like a bunch of rocks all around it, like kind of make it look a bit more hidden, a bit more discreet into the ground, whereas right now it's really sticking out quite abruptly. But I love the lens. I love how that actually worked, the pond effect. And of course the invisible jump pad, so I can actually walk on it. I think that came out absolutely perfectly. Right then. Yeah, cool. So there we go then. It's another nice little Eternal Cylinder. Kind of like a mini build. Wait, not quite a mega build, but like a mini build. I like it. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, if you've got like any other ideas for these kind of builds, I really am enjoying these sort of mixed in galactic adventure create creature builds. I'm really enjoying these, so if you've got like an idea for another one, let me know. I'd be very, very interested. And yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you'll try out your own ones as well. And as always, I will see you all next time. Cheers.